Welcome back to The Words We Needed, this space where we have the honest, deep conversations that educators, administrators, and community leaders need to hear. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that sits at the very heart of how we support our youth and families: resilience, trauma-informed care, and what happens when we stop working in silos and start building truly connected systems of care. Our guest today is an absolute powerhouse in this space. Dr. Christine Pennington is a behavioral health leader, counselor, and educator with over 20 years of experience. She is the founder and CEO of Resilient Pathways Behavioral Services and is the executive director of Resilient Pathways nonprofit. She is also the creator of Full Circle Resilience, the framework which helps schools, healthcare providers, and community agencies seamlessly coordinate their care for their families. Appointed by Governor Glenn Youngkin, the Board of Trustees for the Institute of Advanced Learning and Research, and a trusted trainer for the Virginia Department of Juvenile Justice, she is here to help us reimagine what the behavioral health community and support could look like. Dr. Pennington, welcome to The Words We Needed.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you today, Rochelle.
Yes, I'm so glad you were able to meet with us today. So, Dr. Pennington, in your bio and your work, you talk a lot about moving from fragmented services to coordinated systems of care. For educators, counselors, and community leaders listening right now, what does fragmented care actually look like on the ground for a child or family? And where are those cracks that usually fall through?
Well, fragmented care really refers to the fact that we have so many great programs out there. We have such support from a lot of community-based agencies. Schools put funding into behavioral health systems, but there's no connection, there's no bridge occurring consistently across all aspects of support. So sometimes children will be getting support at school, and maybe communication to home is lacking. There's no connection with bringing parents into the support the children are receiving. Oftentimes, there might be multiple community agencies working with a family, and unfortunately, there's a lack of communication. What I see so much about the working in silos is a lot of times we don't engage an entire family unit. We work with a child or one family member that seemingly has gone through some adversity, but we're not recognizing the impact adversity and trauma has on an entire family.
Yes.
The work that I see and value so much is early intervention and connecting an entire family, a whole family approach to healing and addressing adversity, addressing trauma, and finding solutions to move forward with a resilient pathway forward for the entire family.
To address this exact fragmentation, you created the Full Circle Resilience Framework. It's a whole family approach designed to strengthen that crucial caregiver and child relationship. Walk us through the core pillars of this framework. How does it shift the perspective that managing a crisis to build long-term intergenerational resilience?
So the core pillars of this program is really first of all, meeting a family where they are. So when we talk about a family, it can be a traditional family unit, it can be grandparents raising grandchildren, it can be a foster care situation transitioning into adoption. But regardless of the situation, we're basically creating a system of triage. We know that families have been through things. We know that they may need additional, stronger, higher level supports eventually, but we're trying to structure the family so that they can support one another in the healing process and they can heal together. So the pillars of that look like, how do we co-regulate? How do we keep the caregiver regulating themselves first and moving, being a support system for the children in the household? How do we repair after conflict? If there's been disagreements or conflict in the household, how do we come back together and really focus on the values of the family and staying strong as a family unit? that involves creating positive, improved communication skills. And a lot of times it starts even with teaching in a household what empathy looks like, understanding what each role is of the family member and how important each family member is within the family unit. So the full circle resilience is unique in the sense that it's designed with a 6 session workbook that the family works on together, and they walk through different. The first unit is on safety. Before we can work on higher level means of support and strengthening and building resilience, we have to have a sense of safety in our own home and what that looks like. And then so the family would work on the workbook activities together. The caregiver has some specific skills because they're leading it, so they have some workbook pages just for them. It's a built-in lesson, and then each lesson is followed up with in-person support. And the thing that's wonderful about this is the support can be anyone in the mental health or social work industry. So it could be a school counselor that does the follow up. It could be a social worker at DSS or a case manager at another community agency, or it could be a licensed clinical clinician. So it's just following up the skills that are being taught to the family and strengthening the messaging so that the family can move forward and actually start to implement these new tools in their household.
Wow, I can imagine how transformative that is for families. And the fact that you're supporting not just the child, but supporting parents, grandparents, it will create opportunities for long-term overall health of the family, starting with safety, empathy, phenomenal work you're doing. And you wear so many hats working with K-12 education, higher ed, juvenile justice, and grassroots nonprofits in rural Virginia. It's one thing to say we need cross-sector collaboration, but it's another to actually get a school board, a behavioral health provider, and a local government agency all on the same page. What is the secret to breaking down those institutional silos?
Well, we have to start changing our mindset. We have to recognize that we're all in it for the same reason. And having been a previous educator yourself, you know that we can be very territorial. That's our classroom, these are our kids. But when we start to see that we teach in a world where these children are going home to some very adverse situations, and school is often a safe space for them, we have to find a way to connect the resources they're receiving at school with the resources they receive in the community, and work on understanding that all of us are on the same team, and the goal is to create stronger, healthier youth, which in turn leads to empowered families and transforms communities for the best.
Yes. And not only stronger, healthier families, and especially when we're thinking about our future. If we want to
Mhm.
actually see a real change long term, it has to start now. Sometimes there's only so much you can do with our adults, but when you create a better environment, better systems for the children, because maybe those tools were never given prior to this opportunity providing for them, you're creating better systems long term. So I am totally impressed and inspired by your work. This is
Yes.
phenomenal. Dr. Pennington, the show is called The Words We Needed because we always try to uncover the specific truths or insights that someone out there is so desperate to hear today. If you could speak directly to the exhausted school counselor, the overwhelmed administrator, or the parent who feels like they're fighting the system all alone right now, what are the words they need to hear?
Well, we're always going to be challenged by the to-do list, especially as educators and administrators and raising families. There's always going to be more expected of us, more appointments, things to accomplish. I think the key thing that I would want people to understand is there is so much value in stopping and being present. We cannot discount relationships. They are the core of our all of our successes. And when we do not take time to really nurture relationships, work together as different entities across education, community, and in homes. And when we are overlooking the value of just building strong relationships, hearing what each other has to say, taking time to learn conflict resolution, and making everyone feel valued, supported, and included, we are doing a disservice across the long term, because we see it in society today. There's a lot of people that don't take time to understand someone else's point of view and understand someone's perspective, and we are quick to close down relationships and walk away when repair is so close at hand. If we would just take the time to be present, um, stop some of the busyness, and really look at what's important in life. You know, we live in a world of technology, but we cannot discount the importance of human to human relationship, the value of understanding someone else's perspective and emotions, and really asking, when we see someone who is going through behavioral issues, emotional, outbursts, if we take time to say, what have they walked through? What have they been through? What have they experienced? We get a different perspective than just our critical eye of what's wrong with you. Why are you behaving that way? So if we take time to really build relationships and be present in the moment and learn about one another, I think we're going to continue to see improvements in family relationships, school to family connections, and just across the board, realizing that, hey, we're all on the same team and we all want what's best for individuals, families, and communities.
Correct. And these are skills that are just transferable through life. If we all begin to develop those empathy skills towards
Yes,
everyone around us, understanding that everyone has a reason. Their behavior is a form of communication. There's something
yes,
there. And when we start asking, what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you, we'll begin to reframe the way that we approach each other, communicate with one another, and have patience for each other, just developing more patience when we're dealing with people. So I love everything that you said. This was phenomenal. I want you to walk us through the journey of how you started. What brought you to this work and inspired you to do this transformative work in your community?
well, I saw and I was one of those exhausted educators, but I also saw shortcomings. And really, what started this was, as a school counselor, I was working with alternative learning. And I saw so many students in our alternative learning program who, when you got to know them, they were phenomenal kids. They were bright, they had great ideas, they had beautiful talents, but their behaviors were stopping people from really understanding them and getting to know them. And often the local alternative program was really a punitive program, and we were not looking beyond the behaviors and trying to transform those behaviors into something life changing and positive. So we started working as a team at our school level, school superintendent. We had juvenile court judges and social work, social services, our behavioral health agencies. We were all coming together to work to transform our community, our school's alternative program, and we're so that it would be restorative and changing behaviors, and these kids wouldn't come back, and we would have high recidivism rates of these same behaviors. We would be changing their mindset and giving them a more positive outlook. Unfortunately, that became the catalyst that led me out into the community, because we had a shift in leadership. Our superintendent retired, and we had a shift in leadership, and the leadership did not have the same vision. So it put a little energy below into me, a fire, and said, we really need to go out in the community and tackle this from a different perspective. Find the gaps in the community, everywhere from creating family unity programs to family parent coaching systems. So that's really how the work started. And then as I went on to finish my doctorate, I had always had a desire to create an early intervention program, because I believe the earlier we address issues, the better we can equip families with the right tools, the right coping skills to move beyond adversity and trauma and live healthier, stronger lives. So one setback led into.
Yes, I was going to say, for you said unfortunately, but it's a fortunate unfortunate. Like it's one of those things that it worked out for your good. And I'm amazed at how you embody resilience. That is the story that embodies the resilience that you're practicing what you preach. Something that redirected you and shifted your path was something that actually helps heal communities long term. So I hear you saying that didn't have a lot of repeat offenders, they reshaped their mindset because the impact is there. It's ironic because here in the city of Chicago, there's a huge controversy surrounding teen takeovers. And there are a lot
Mm.
of people who don't understand that when you empower communities to reshape their mind, give them tools and opportunities that they never had access to, that you will see a change. It may not be right away, it may take time, but the impact is there. Once you plant the seeds, something will grow. What is your advice for people who may not understand that it's a work in progress? It takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. These are tools that are meant to help reshape mindsets and futures, but they cannot override the environments and the systems that have been around and in place for years and years and years. What are your thoughts on that?
It definitely, you have to be sit in some grace and understand that one vision and one hope has to, like you said, be the seed that is planted and then is spread, because it's one family at a time. When if you can start somewhere and make an improvement in one family, and then you keep replicating that work amongst other families, it does take time. I mean, it could take decades to see the change, but we definitely know what we're doing in the past hasn't always been effective. So we have to be willing to regroup, meet families where they are. I think that we need more emphasis on early intervention. I know one thing I will say in our society, we we normalize divorce. And I don't even care the most amicable divorce situation. It is never normal for a child. And that's a small thing that maybe we overlook and a child doesn't get intervention at that time. If we started it, if at elementary schools we said, hey, this child's just moved to a new community, or this child is going through a family divorce, or they have an incarcerated parent now, or anything that we see at elementary level, if we intervene and offered support and coping skills, then we are teaching lifelong resiliency to not just that child, but then when we bring in a family, we're teaching lifelong resiliency to a family so that the next time adversity rears its ugly head, they have the tools to get through it. And I think over time we will see a decrease in students who are in the judicial system. I mean, at juveniles in the judicial system, we'll see less dependency on community agencies and welfare system. When we teach resiliency, people want to be successful. They just sometimes don't know the tools. So when we teach it early on, we give families the ability to continue to grow and strengthen. And we're teaching a new messaging within the household too when we involve the whole family. It's a joy to see us work with an older child and they take those skills back, and the younger child doesn't follow suit. Their behaviors change, and families are like, he acts so different than he was starting to act. He was starting to behave like his brother. Now his brother's behaving differently. So it's very exciting.
Wow. Wow.
Very exciting.
Redirecting the entire trajectory. I love it. Beautifully said, Dr. Pennington. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and the incredible blueprint you're providing for our communities. Where can our listeners find you, find more about you, and learn about resilient pathways?
Well, I appreciate your time and giving my program a voice today. It is so encouraging. I think we all have a little bit of resiliency in us. Sometimes we just need someone to help us dig a little deeper and find the right tools to get through certain life hurdles. You can find Full Circle Resilience at www.fullcircle-resilience.com. And you can also look us up on Facebook of Resilient Pathways. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. And then Resilient Pathways website is resilient-pathways.com.
So, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, building resilience isn't a solo journey, it takes a full circle. So, see you next week on the words we needed. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.